Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about doing some things for your nonprofit, specifically a board retreat. I was on the board of directors for the community band that I play in for 14 years, and as part of my job as the president of the organization, I helped plan and execute the board retreats. And I took part in that for 10 of the 14 years. The first 4 years that I was on the board, we did not do a retreat, but then 4 years in, we started doing one and had one ever since. I retired from the board of directors June, the end of June 2018, and still play in the community band, but no longer involved with the day-to-day operations of the organization. I do know that they still continue doing their board retreat. I still have several friends that are on the board, and they talked with me about what they did for their retreat this year, so I know that the things that I'm about to talk to you guys about are still in play with their board and with their retreat. And so we'll go ahead and get into it now. The retreat is an all-day event. It usually starts around 8 o'clock in the morning. And the board always, the people facilitating, that was me at one point. Now it's the new person in charge. They ask that the board members get there at least 15 minutes early, if not a little bit before, to help set up, get the table set up, figure out where the breakout events are going to happen, and set up for breakfast and lunch, because breakfast and lunch is typically provided during the retreat. And it usually ends around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, depending on what all needs to be done that day and how much work they have to do. Just so you know, it is a great way for the board members to get to know each other, or staff, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do an all-day retreat for. I'm just going to say board members because that's where I've had experience with it, but you can always insert staff or volunteers with that as well. It is also a great way to find out what the board members' strengths and weaknesses are, as far as what they're talented in and what they're not talented in. If you have a board member who has a knack for writing, you don't want them getting up in front of people and talking. Or if you have a person who has a knack for communications, you don't want them having to be the person who has the draw or design stuff. Another thing for the retreats, it's to set long and short-term goals for the organization for the next year. Generally, retreats are not to be used for day-to-day operations of the organization. They are to be used for strategic planning and setting organizational goals. So it's best that you don't hold the retreat at your office or wherever it is that you do business, or in our case where we have rehearsals. It's best to go someplace that the people are not familiar with. That way they can solely focus on the retreat and not the day-to-day operations of the band. When I was with the band, we typically the board of directors for the band, we typically held our board meetings at a specific restaurant because they had a meeting room. The rehearsals are at a specific church in the area that we live, and so that we're not at either the restaurant or the church, we hold the retreat at a completely separate church than where we rehearse, and it's completely separate from the restaurant that we have our board meetings at. That way we weren't tempted to falling into doing regular work, which, trust me, that they will be if they are at their regular place of business. It's a good idea to try to get each of the attendees to bring something as a contribution, like drinks, snacks, fruit, or breakfast items. You'll be working all day, and trust me, the snacks and food will help get you through the day. Helping them get up and move around too also help, because you're sitting in one place all day and it just gets real tiring. For those 10 years that I helped out with the retreats and led the retreats, Jeff would cater our lunch. So he would take the day off. Both of us usually work on the weekends, and so both of us would take a vacation day the day of the retreat, and Jeff would cook a lunch, and he would usually theme it for one specific type of food. We had Chinese food one year, we had British food one year, we had Hawaiian food one year, we had Southern soul food one year, and he had a lot of fun doing that. But there are several other options if you don't want to have somebody come in and cater the lunch, like cook the lunch for you. Places like Jason's Deli, Subway, or even a local restaurant might be able to bring in food, whether it be a box lunch or a buffet style, or something along those lines at a decent rate too. There's a local Italian place here in Katy that could do an event for like $4 or $5 a plate, so that's not too bad. It all depends on what your organization is willing to spend on food. Jeff has been able to get all the ingredients for the food that he cooked for a 3-course meal, because usually he'd have like a salad, a main entree, and a dessert, and he'd get it for about $50, and that would feed 10 to 12 people. The board members loved the food that he cooked, but like I said, this year, since I'm not on the board anymore, Jeff did not cook because I'm not on the board anymore, and so they got box lunches from, I think, Jason's Deli or somewhere like Subway or Jason's Deli, and it worked just fine. It wasn't the home cooked meal, but it was a good lunch either way. I will post a typical agenda here in a minute, but I wanted to go over a few things first. During the retreats, we would hold a couple of team building events, and I know they did this year too, because they were posting pictures on the organization's Facebook page during the retreat. And the team building events, one of them is to get to know each other better, and one is to brainstorm for future items or goals. Several of the team building events that we've done in the past have been found online just by Googling team building event. We've used these sessions before to come up with press releases, PSAs, and fundraising opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and post the agenda here. Okay, so you've seen the agenda, and we've gotten the agendas typically by Googling agendas, topics for board retreats, and pretty much got that agenda off the internet, and it just tweaked it a little bit for our organization. One of our most favorite, I can tell you now, one of our most favorite team building get to know you better sessions has been to have everyone write on a little slip of paper 3 things. Two of them are lies, and one of them is a truth about yourself. So you write it down. You write 2 lies about yourself and 1 truth. You have 5 minutes to fill it out, and then the pieces of paper are collected, and whoever is leading that particular team building session will take the pieces of paper and read them out loud, not saying who the person is, but just read them out loud, and you have to try to guess who the person is. You have to guess who the person is, and you have to guess what the truth is. You have to figure out what the 2 lies and what the truth is. The items, the truths and the lies can be anything like experiences that you've had, vacations, any kind of odd jobs that you've had, if you've had any kind of illnesses that you don't mind sharing, interesting family member that you've had, a weird car that you've had, anything that others may not know that you don't mind sharing. I can tell you now, when we did this and I put mine in, I came up with some kind of weird off the wall lies. I don't even remember what they were, but my truth was that I had actually gotten hit in the forehead with a hammer when I was 3, and they all guessed one of the other 2 lies because they just couldn't believe that I'd gotten hit in the forehead with a hammer when I was 3. And then I had to show them there's a dent in my forehead right here where I can still feel it. So it's pretty interesting, and you learn a lot about the other people just by kind of doing this one team building event. Okay, so the short and long-term goals would need to be something that are specific to your organization. Short-term goals typically are to be done by next year's retreat, while long-term goals would be done in the next 2 to 5 years. And don't put a whole lot more down on your list than what you think you can realistically achieve. We've made that mistake in the past with the board where we put way more things than what we could get done, and we ended up failing at a lot of the agenda items as far as short and long-term goals went. Achievable but require work. Let me put it that way. I mentioned the band's organization's Facebook page. The organization that I'm in, the band, the Facebook page is actually attached to my personal Facebook page, but I've given administrator rights to the other people on the board. So during the day, when I was on the board, and then this past retreat, since I'm no longer on the board, someone else was doing it, but all through the day we would be posting pictures and videos of things going on in the retreat, and just so that our patrons and the other band members could see what we were up to, and they could see that we were hard at work planning for the future of the organization. So holding retreats are definitely a good way to make sure that your organization stays on track and stays on mission. We actually did create our mission statement at a board retreat one year, so that's another option as well. It helps set the organization goals for the future, and helps to build camaraderie among the volunteers or staff members or board members, whatever it is that you're doing the board retreat for. So I hope this helps, and I hope that you can utilize some of our agenda items or ideas for team building events for future board retreats for yourself. Thank you.